Good morning. We're at it again for another 5 good minutes with the Word. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Barry Bryson, and today we're talking about Thomas, the Apostle Thomas. Really appreciate John's Gospel, written with full knowledge of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, written at the end of the first century, for telling us things that we haven't heard before, for fleshing out the story, for introducing us to people like Mary and Martha of Bethany, or Andrew, Thomas, more fully than we had ever known them before. Thomas is known as a doubter, and I think that's unfair. I think we should know Thomas as a man of enormous faith and courageous faith, as we'll see. We talked about how Jesus introduces us to Andrew 3 times in his gospel, so we'll know more about him. Well, he introduces us to Thomas 3 times in his gospel so that we will know more about him. Thomas is, as we read about him in the lists of apostles from the Synoptic Gospels, is called the twin. Thomas is called Didymus, which means the twin. And in fact, early on in the heretical teaching of false teachers in the church, because of that little word, there were folks who believed that Thomas was Jesus' twin. And there is a Gnostic gospel, an apocryphal book of the Gospel of Thomas, which was perhaps the most influential of the apocryphal teachings in the early part of the 2nd century in the early church, which is a great disservice to a wonderful man. In John chapter 11, verse 6, when Jesus is talking about going into Bethany, going down to Judea, going into Bethany, in order to raise Lazarus from the dead. And the apostles say to him, no, they're going to kill you. And Thomas is the one of all the apostles standing up, almost like Joshua and Caleb, who says, no, let us go that we may die with him. Thomas was ready at that point to go die with Jesus. He didn't question that Jesus himself would die. He just wanted to die alongside his Lord. That's a level of courage that challenges all of us. In John chapter 14, verse 5, when Jesus said, I'm going away, don't let your hearts be troubled. You know, you believe in God, believe in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. I'm going to prepare your place, and I'm going to go away, but I'm coming back. And if that weren't true, I would tell you, because I'm speaking plainly to you. It is Thomas who speaks up and says, Lord, where are you going, and how will we know the way? He's the first one to ask what the question that was on all of their minds, I'm sure, and he's quick to be the one to pay attention and to want to know, what do I have to do to be with you? How do we follow where you're going? Because that's what matters. The episode that we most remember him for happens, of course, as the climax, in a way, of the Gospel of John, a gospel that has really 3 climactic moments. And this is the middle of those climactic moments in John chapter 20, that chapter in which people come to faith in Jesus through their encounters with the risen Lord. Peter and John see the empty tomb. In fact, Peter has to go into it. Mary Magdalene has to hear Jesus say her name in his own voice in her own ear, a passage we talked about earlier in our study. But Thomas was not there when Jesus appeared to the other apostles. And Thomas said, unless I see in his hands the imprint of the nails, and put my finger into the place of the nails, put my hand into his side, I will not believe. And so Jesus affords him that opportunity. It's such, John just plays on your heartstrings. I mean, the words go straight to your heart, your soul, the deepest part of your being. If you've ever had surgery, if you've ever been in the hospital, especially if you've been in a teaching hospital, whenever the interns come and poke and prod on you like they're working on a Buick, you know what a violation of your person it is to have your body handled in that way. And that's what Jesus offers up. 8 days later, Jesus appears, Thomas is there, and Jesus says to Thomas, reach here your finger and see my hands, and put your hand right in here into my side, and don't be unbelieving but believing. Whatever it takes, Jesus says to Thomas, I'm giving it to you because I need you to believe in me. And Thomas says, "My Lord and my God." And Jesus says to him, "Because you have seen me, you believed. Blessed are they who did not see and yet believed." And that's us. Thomas connects us to this moment and to Jesus in this moment. And then we have this addendum, this coda. Many other signs Jesus performed in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but these have been written that you may believe. You're the people Jesus was just talking about, and that in believing that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, you may have life in his name. Thomas is such a special brother in Christ to all of us. Well, that's all we know about Thomas from the New Testament. Our best information is that he went on to India and perhaps even China. But the likelihood, if the information we have is right, is that he evangelized India and died there. And so he's important to us in many ways. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll talk more, and we'll talk a bit about Judas and then Paul. Thank you for joining me.